fellow geeks and gamers, Matt Lemke here with 3Gamer Goggles, gamer-goggles.com, and today we have another flip through for you. This flip through is on Wreckage, and as you can see, it's a tabletop skirmish game and an RPG. This flip through is going to be a little bit different because, well, it is a whole rule book for technically two different types of games. So we're just going to start by going through it. I'm going to point out some things that I found to be neat to the book or interesting. There's a little bit of a transformation as you go through the book. One of the things that I found to be interesting is usually you find a glossary at the back of the book. I thought that it was pretty cool that it's right at the beginning. The other thing you're going to notice is the size. That's my hand. Most rule books are 8.5 by 11-ish. This book is a book that is designed that you can carry it with you to the miniatures table as well as to any table with your friends. It can go in your laptop bag pretty easily. The book is in black and white all the way through. This was a successful Kickstarter 4 years ago-ish. Then you've got your table of contents. History of the world, not just post-fall, but before and after the fall of the economy. Wreckage is a post-collapse or post-apocalyptic world. And as you can see that it has fallen pretty hardcore. This is, one of my favorite parts of the book is actually the map of the United States. They reworked it a little bit, actually quite a bit. Most of the game world takes place here, but there's a lot of fans that have done interesting things in other parts of the world and country. And we're going to zoom in just a little bit more so we can have the whole book on. And then it starts moving into like the factions and stuff as we move through the book. Actually, I think I'm still in the history here. And then it moves into the community. It defines what the community is, the functions of the community, because you could say that the Wreckage role-playing game / miniatures game can easily be converted into what I would call something similar to the original Warcraft game, where you would have to build your buildings, build different types of troops and things of that nature. And that's kind of what they get at with the role-playing game. You're not just role-playing a character or two, you're kind of developing a whole community. And now we're into the different groups. You've got your drifters. Let's see, let's back up here. You've got the stakers. You've got the drifters, who basically are your nomadic people. Stitchers, they're kind of like, I don't know, I kind of associate them with mad scientists that are trying to live longer lives than they can by stealing body parts from people that are healthier than they are. And then you've got the reclaimers. These are kind of like the technicians of the game world. And then you've got the Ark and the Church of Fun, which I really don't know that much about right now, but I like the Ark because if you look at them, they look like they have an Oriental history / background to them and a samurai influence. The Church of Fun, well, if you take their title, they're a Church of Fun. And then you have the Unicephalon, which they kind of look kind of like an aristocrat. They look like they've got better gear. Maybe they're the peacemakers. Oh, they're corporate monks. I'm going to like them. And then the Veil, Caravanners, the Fringes. Some of those are new from when I actually got exposed to the game like 4 years ago during the Kickstarter. And then it moves into the game rules. And this is actually the tabletop portion of the game right here that you're moving into. We've already filmed a demo on that if you'd like to watch that. I'll try and remember to link that in this video when I post it up. Rules of play, you flip through. It's pretty straightforward. There's opposed rolls sometimes there's not opposed rolls. But for the most part, it's a D6 based game. And you can move through. And somewhere in here, let's see, here is actually, 63, it talks about your characters training attributes, because your characters can grow. It's a not scenario based, but more of a campaign based type of system. And then there's the different tests, the types of tests, turns, etc. You move through here, and when you get into around 90, after you've learned how to play the tabletop miniatures game, you get into 90. Well, here's your suppression charts. You get into around the 90, you start to move into what is, in my opinion, the transformation of the book, where you start looking at player character creation, the different types of characters and communities, and how they apply to the role-playing based portion of the game. Talks about crews, creating a character. I haven't created one yet. I want to do that a few times before I discuss that in a little bit more detail. Fleshing out your character. This is just the normal stuff you would do with most of your characters in other role-playing games. You create your origin, what motivates your character. Maybe you kind of define what kind of archetype you might have. What else do we have here? Character creation is... and then you actually have the different types of archetypes for the different factions too. That is actually one thing that's kind of unique to the game, in the sense that the way they tie it to their campaign system and their possible role-playing of the system. In the near future, I will be getting to play the game on Skype and recording it, I hope, or maybe Google Hangouts, we haven't figured out how yet, with Matt Sears, who's one of the creators of the game. And then it moves into the different types of skills. Some of the skills are pretty self-explanatory: gunslinger, fleet-footed, fanatical. Basically, when you're fanatical, your character does not have to roll for suppression traits. Guile, paranoid. Well, paranoid's obviously scared. And then moves into the different types of skills. Hey, there's a boar. These guys explode and take people with them to the grave. I would honestly think that they would be my food source personally, but hey, maybe the bombs cook them too. And then there's different types of skill checks. Specifically, in this case, we're talking knowledge. And then it moves into equipment. Now, this is one thing I kind of want to talk about, because the game world is unique, and in a sense, they tend to reverse engineer things. So you kind of have the idea and the motif that items and equipment tend to malfunction, or are more likely to malfunction than items that you and I would use today, even though these items might be technologically advanced compared to what you and I might be used to in the real world. Like I said, they've reversed engineered, so sometimes the items are bigger and bulkier than they would normally be. They have all kinds of different things. They've got old tech even, where they have rebuilt or found, I'm going to call them artifacts. And then obviously you can see things where they have advanced things a little bit and they've learned how to do things. So you have a wide angle of spectrum, and even character from faction to faction as a result. Some characters are better at rebuilding things. Some characters are like your newer scientists. And then food. That's something I did want to talk about here. The money system is kind of based on, I'm not going to say provisions that you have, but on a lot of things that you can and can't produce within the community that you create. So for example, your community might be really good at growing wheat and producing flour. So flour might be worth X in the game world, and you might have to trade X times X to trade for weapons and equipment within your story of the world. They have kits, and let's see, I am looking for now, I thought there was, well, here actually, I do like some of the Stalker equipment. They have Skyriders. Skyriders are devices that allow the user to temporarily alter the molecular composition of the oxygen in the sky. Very interesting. It sounds kind of fun and dangerous. I wonder what the rules are that guide creating storms. And then you move into the Veil. Specific equipment. Here's one of your charts for your weapons, and let's see. Hands take a look. Availability. Different levels of availability. Oops. And Then there's weapon modifications that can be made. Here, let's zoom in a little bit more so you can read one of these charts with me. We'll just go with the scope, for example. Gives the weapon either rifle scope or tactical scope trait. May not be used with inaccurate weapons. So there's a slight limitation on it. I think I have mail. And then here is a list of all the different weapon traits. And when you play the game, you can write these out on your cards, or let's see, I don't have many with me, so I can't show you the blister at this point in time, but I'm going to be doing a video on some of the blisters that I picked up at Adepticon. And then I'm going to call this like the third chapter. This is basically how to be the narrator or the storyteller of the game. It gives you breakdowns on your settings, plan, things that many of us as storytellers probably already know and even assume. But in the future, I'll be doing not a storytelling series for Roleplay Ramblings, but I'm going to do a storytelling series on world building, and one of the things that is going to go into world building is understand why there's conflict in your world. Don't just create a conflict and then don't explain it, which preset worlds like this do a pretty good job. Oops, zoom in. There we go. Do a pretty good job of giving you that information, but that's, in my opinion, that's one of the biggest downfalls you can have in an adventure, is not knowing why you're fighting for what you're fighting. And as you can see, the art is pretty good. This is actually one of my favorite pictures in the book, and it's not because it's a sword. It's because if you look at it, it kind of looks like a treehouse. It's just interesting. And then there's encounters. This is again part of the portion of, I'm still calling this part of the narrator's tips and tricks. And then you have some scenarios that are written out. There's a couple samples, the Hunter, and then you have Antiques Roadshow, which Clash of the Titan, which tells you here it's an attack encounter. And then here's some of, one that's got a little bit more stuff to it. It's attack, neutral, and defend encounter. So your objective is to control the most market stalls or buildings on the tabletop. It sounds like it could be both challenging and fun at the same time, of course. And then in the back, okay, now they start talking about campaigns around page 210 of the book. Campaigns take a little bit more time as a narrator to obviously set up. They're a little bit more involved, of course, and it talks about how characters recover or heal and character advancement. And then as you move towards the back even more, there is a series of advanced rules. And these advanced rules can apply to both the RPG and the tabletop skirmish portion of the game. I love the fact that there's special climbing and falling rules in the game. I think many miniatures games, and even in a way, role-playing games often downplay the possibility. There it is. Now, here you go. The last section is about painting in the hobby, and it shows you a picture of several of the models that they already have produced for the game, a table they've made, some terrain like this here. Look at that. That kind of looks like it's a cross of a fancy koozie on a beer can. And then you have what I'm going to start calling, these are like the reference tables in the back of the book for combat damage, your weapon charts, so you don't have to memorize what pages they're on. And then you have the weapons malfunction table. Like I did tell you before, that it is possible on a fail that your weapon may fall apart. So you roll a d6, On a 1, the item is damaged or broken with no damage to the controlling character. 2, the item is jammed. 6, no effect. So you basically roll a d6 and figure it out. And then there's little trinkets, of course, that you can have, like a tracer shell. And then campaigns. Here is your breakdown of your serious injury table. So you roll 2d6 and you get a range of anything from 2 to a 12, obviously. So on a 2, it's pretty bad. Your character's dead. On a 12, the character can no longer speak, whether for physical or psychological reasons. So it creates some interesting possibilities for you to get over. And actually, this chart is one of the better charts I've seen in a campaign system for helping define your character, because it does actually do that. Some of these random rolls can actually create a lot of character depth for your character. And at the same time, it might be frustrating as a player to play somebody who's mute. And then they give you notes on resource units, which basically your resources are how you play with things. Like they talk about the starter boxes specifically, which has roughly 300 resource units in them, and then talks about more than 2 players and tournament rules. And then on the back, you have a sample character builder sheet. So that is the Wreckage rulebook in its pretty much entirety in about 16 minutes. So you get a little bit of an idea of what the book looks like, how it feels, and how much content there is. Now, one thing you might have noticed as I was flipping through, there is not a lot of art in this book. And that's because it is just so full of content, background information, and 2 game systems. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. This is Matt Lemke with Through Gamer Goggles, gamer-goggles.com.